Once upon a time, in a far-off kingdom, there lived a kind and just king. The king was loved by all his subjects, but he had one major concern. He had no child. As the years went by, the king became increasingly worried about who will inherit the throne after he passed away. He knew that he needed to find someone to take his place, but he didn't know who that person would be. He had tried to have a child of his own that would inherit the throne of his ancestors, but had not been able to. He had lost hope and given up. If that was how the Creator wanted it to be, who was he to say no? He often asked himself each time he sat down and cried. He often cried at how all his wealth, money, land, and everything that belonged to his lineage was going to be all lost. Who was going to inherit them all? He was the last in his lineage, and he felt bad that he was going to lose the kingdom. But if that was what the Creator wanted, who was he to question his destiny? He had to surrender to it all. And he would cry and often imagine how it would be when he was no more. Nobody, not even a soul, to continue his family lineage. After much thinking, he decided to throw a competition in the kingdom, and whoever passed the test would be the next king after him. There was nothing else he could do. And he decided that there was going to be two kinds of competition. One would be of a physical competition, and the second will be that of intelligence and virtuous competition. He announced to everyone in the kingdom that all the eligible men in the kingdom was going to come out and hold this competition. He announced it without letting them know the reasons why he wanted to have the competition done. The day of the first competition arrived, and that was that of the physical one. All the young men in the kingdom were to assemble by the lake, the small lakeside, the lake that was in the kingdom filled with crocodiles. Each of the young men was to swim from the beginning of the lake to the end unhurt, and anyone who passed the test to the king would be one of the qualities he was looking for. But he never told anyone. It was a terrifying test. The young men started to comply. Some of them entered the water turn by turn to swim across, but jagged teeth of the crocodile and the deadly eyes looking at them was enough to scare the hell out of them, and they ran out of the water. Each time any of them entered, the crocodile would bare their jagged teeth, and the deadly teeth would scare the hell, and they would rush out of the water. When it was Mbaju's turn to swim, people were surprised at what he was carrying in his hands. A bucket filled with meat. Mbaju threw the meat all over the lake, away from where he was to start swimming. And while the crocodiles were busy rushing and diving after the meat, Mbaju swam from the beginning of the lake to the end of the lake, without any harm or obstruction on his path. And he won the race. He won the swimming race competition. The second to win was Mgbada. He swam halfway before running out of the lake in fright. And the third was Enudi. He ventured a little, but ran out when he saw that his life was in danger, and thus they could do nothing tangible. 4 days later, the king called the 3 men to his palace and told them he was going to give them some money to save for him. They never knew he was giving them a test of intelligence and virtue. He gave each of them a bag of money, and they all went home to do the assignment given to them by the king. He told them to hold the money for a year, and at the end of that 1 year, he will ask them to bring back the money to him. But on getting home, sat down and thought of, how can I keep a bag of money in the house? Just like that. I have a lot of sense in my brain. Let me use this money to do business, and at the end of the year, I will take my profit and give the capital back to the king. Yes, he was so happy. So he invested the money into business. Enudi on his part bought yam seedlings and planted them on a large farm. He used the money the king had given him to buy yam seedlings, saying that he will plant the yams, and at the end of the year, he will harvest them, sell them, and take his profit and return the king's capital to him. Mbachu, on the other hand, when he got home after much deliberation, he decided that the money was not his. If he used it for anything now, like business or whatever, if something happened to it and he could not get the money in the number of the amount that the king gave to him, what will happen? There will be no more trust. So he decided to hide the money. He went into his room, dug a hole on the floor, and buried the money there. A year later, the king called the 3 young men to bring back the money he had given them. Enudi's business had not gone as he had expected. Many of his customers were still owing him, and so he could not gather all the money when the king told him to bring the money back. Ngbada, on his part, harvested the yams he had planted and sold them off. But many of the yams were still unsold. He could not rush everything as he had wanted, and most of the crops were bought on credit. He could not gather the money, not even the capital the king had given to him. Mbachu, on his part, went straight to his room, dug the place he had buried the money, and took it out. He cleaned off the dust and took the bag of money back to the palace. When he got there, the king was surprised that the 3 young men, of all the 3 of them, it was only Mbachu that was able to bring the money intact. And it was only Mbachu that had won the swimming competition. He was pleased with Mbachu. He looked at the other 2 and shook his head. Mbachu, on seeing what had happened, was thanking his stars he never used the money. What does not belong to me does not interest me, and I cannot use it because it might be a trap, he thought within him, shaking his head as he saw the humiliation the other 2 young men were facing. After all that, the king gathered the village elders and told them the purpose of the competition he had done. After explaining to them that he was seeking to pick the right king, a king that has the right thinking, the right judgment, discernment. So the elders were surprised. He told them Mbachu had won everything, had given him money to test his loyalty. He had made him to swim across the lake to see how brave and fearless he was. At the end, all the elders were pleased at the king's choice. So he was made to be the next in line to the king's succession. Many years later, when the king was no more, Mbachu was crowned the king of the kingdom. It was a great lesson for the people in the kingdom and all the young men. King Mbachu was much loved and respected in the society because of his virtues. That is the end of the story. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and share the videos. Thanks for watching.